I'm with Michael Oren, a member of the Knesset and Deputy Minister for Diplomacy. Now, Mr. Oren, what is it like for you representing your country in the Israeli Parliament?
It's a great honor, and it's an honor that I don't take for granted. From where I'm talking to you right here, we're about a 2-hour drive from the Syrian border from ISIS. We're about a 5-6 hour drive from the Iraqi border. We're an hour and a half drive from Hamas in Gaza. So to have a democratic institution where Jews, Muslims, Christians, leftists, rightists, communists can all get together and scream at each other peacefully and actually pass a tremendous amounts of legislation. We have no polarization here. I think is one of the crowning achievements of the State of Israel, and it's a great privilege for me to be a part of it.
Have you always been interested in politics?
I've always been interested in politics from the outside, not necessarily from the inside, and hadn't thought of myself as someone who might someday be a politician. This is a relatively recent development in my life, and it's fascinating. Like any any public servant, and service to your country, doesn't matter which country, involves a tremendous amount of sacrifice. You don't get rich doing it. You don't, at least if you're honest, and you don't get a lot of sleep. You don't get a lot of vacation. You live your life under a magnifying glass, and there are many, many sacrifices. But I think the rewards, surmount the sacrifices. Certainly justify them.
Now, when did you come to Israel, and why did you come?
I came to Israel almost 40 years ago, and I came because I was not going to miss what I regarded as the most exciting story in Jewish history in many thousands of years, and wanted to be part of building this country. And I look around today, 40 years later, and I have a tremendous sense of pride because the Israel I came to 40 years ago was a much different place. It was very much like the Wild West. And I would say there wasn't central heating. You had to fill up kerosene lamps all the time. Now the thought that no one has a kerosene lamp here anymore. There weren't telephones. There weren't many private cars. Israel has changed profoundly, almost unrecognizably. And I feel a sense of pride at being part of that transformation.
Now, you were the Israeli ambassador to the United States. Donald Trump is the new president. Is he a good friend to Israel?
He's a good friend to Israel, and I think that we can look at many of his policies around the world, not just toward us, whether it be in standing up to North Korea, in standing up to Bashar al-Assad in Syria. These all underscore the strength of the United States, of the presidency, and a strong America is in Israel's interest. It's very much in Israel's interest, and it's not only in our interest; it's in the interest of most of our Arab neighbors. It's in the interest of, I would say, most of the free countries in the world that America be strong, and the degree to which President Trump is restoring America's position in the world is good for us.
Will he understand the complexities and difficulties that are here to obtain peace?
I hope so. I hope so. They are indeed deeply complex. 6 Israeli prime ministers have tried to reach an agreement with the Palestinians and have not succeeded so far. So sometimes the complexities are such that they elude us as well. And I have my own opinions about those complexities. I've been a student of this area of the world and of this conflict for close to 50 years, and have reached some fundamental conclusions about them. I would like to share those conclusions with American policymakers.
Do you think he'll move the American embassy to Jerusalem?
I don't know. There's a report circulating today that he won't. So, so I don't know. I haven't been able to confirm that. My hope was that he would. I can't tell whether that hope is going to be fulfilled or not.
Now, over the past year, we've seen knife attacks and car ramming attacks on the streets in Israel. How difficult is it to deal with lone wolf attackers?
It is very difficult, but not impossible. And we've seen it because the number of these attacks has declined dramatically. Because with each attack we learn. And one of the things you learn, for example, is that lone wolf attackers will often advertise their intentions on the internet, on the media. So we have to be much more vigilant, and we have to cast our web no pun intended, we have to cast our web longer and deeper to identify those people who look like they may attempt a lone wolf attack and to preempt the attack.
Can Europe learn something from Israel? It's on the streets of Europe now.
Europe has so much to learn from Israel that it would probably exceed the amount of time I have for this interview. I host a number of visiting parliamentary delegations from Europe, and a recent delegation from a country that I won't name expressed a surprise that they don't see troops on our street. In their own country, there's a tremendous amount of armed soldiers patrolling the streets, and they said, how do you manage to grapple with terror without having a large military presence in public? And my response was that if you have soldiers on the streets with guns, with helmets, that's a sign already that you failed. Because terror has to be stopped 5 steps before the soldiers on the street. If the soldier on the street, there's only one thing the soldier can do is shoot. Or in the case of certain terrorist attacks, they don't shoot. And it's too late. Terror is stopped first and foremost on the level of intelligence, but it also involves activities like community relations, person-to-person relations. There are many ways that you can combat terror, not by shooting. And so I think Europe has an immense amount to learn from Israel in groping with terror.
Now, Palestinian prisoners have gone on hunger strike, demanding better conditions. Is this a lose-lose situation for Israel? And should Israel give in to terrorist demands? And if they don't give in, are they creating martyrs if a Palestinian prisoner dies?
Okay. First, you have to understand what is the nature of the strike. The nature of the strike has actually nothing to do with conditions in the prison. Because that has to do with the power struggle within Al-Fatah, the main organization in the PLO and in the Palestinian Authority. Marwan Barghouti claims that he has been sidelined by Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. Marwan Barghouti is serving 5 consecutive life sentences for murder in Israeli prisons. That is not our business. That the Palestinians have to work out their own succession issues. And everyone assumes that Mahmoud Abbas, who's now in his 80s and not in very good health, will not be the president of the Palestinian Authority for much longer. And there's already a power struggle. There are about 9 different contenders. And sometimes there have been outbreaks of violence between factions, Palestinian factions, which Israeli forces, ironically, have had to intercede and separate them, or the Palestinians will kill one another. That is not our business. The conditions in Israeli jails have been adjudged by a no less objective source than MSNBC, which is often quite critical of Israel, as being some of the best prison conditions anywhere in the world. We have an arrangement with the Red Cross where Palestinians who have been sent to prison for terrorism from the West Bank receive regular family visits. It's untrue that they don't receive regular family visits. They can get advanced degrees in various fields. I was involved in the Gilad Shalit deal. If you remember, Israel exchanged, almost 2,000 prisoners for Gilad Shalit, an Israeli corporal who had been taken captive by Hamas. We had one security prisoner who refused to be released until he had completed his MA. No kidding, serious story.
UNESCO are continuing to pass resolutions, and they passed a resolution ignoring Jewish connections to the Temple Mount. Is UNESCO anti-Semitic?
I think that as the former president of Harvard, Larry Summers, once said, that there are actions that are anti-Semitic in effect, if not intent. When the UN singles out Israel more frequently than any other country in the world, or all countries in the world combined for human rights violations, that is by definition, in effect, anti-Semitic. What's the definition of anti-Semitism? It's the singling out Jews for condemnation. So it's anti-Semitic. By denying the historical connection between the Jewish people and the city of Jerusalem, this is a connection which is 3,000 years old. Jerusalem is mentioned no less than 683 times in the Bible. It is a city that's holy to the 3 monotheistic religions, but only in Judaism is Jerusalem the holiest city. Okay? There's no Rome, there's no Mecca, there's no Medina. Denying that connection, actually in a strange way, is actually more than anti-Semitic. It is insane. It is.
Many Christians pray for Israel. Is the Jewish-Christian relationship a good one?
Jewish relations is a very good one. We have a long and not always happy history, but in the world today, if in the past, certainly when we talk about Europe, if the Jewish people suffered from, say, too much Christianity, today the Jewish people stand a challenge of a Europe and other places in the world where there's too little Christianity. We share values, we share core beliefs.
What can Christians who are listening to this interview pray for Israel?
Pray for Israel's security. Pray for Israel's strength and ability to confront challenges like the Iran nuclear deal. Pray for our joint values and upholding those values in the face of people who want to destroy us and destroy us collectively, not just the state of Israel. We're on the front lines of a great struggle between forces of medieval hatred and what I'd like to think of as an enlightened world. And it's important to pray for that.
Okay, Michael Oren, thank you much.
Pleasure.